Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. We have more severe weather to talk about today and on Saturday across the southern and southeastern United States, including the threat for tornadoes, and then a potent late season cold blast with widespread frost and freeze concerns across the northern United States. And then the long range weather pattern does look rather interesting as we get into early May. We'll get into those details later on in today's video. But looking here at the visible satellite imagery, it does look pretty busy. We had a lot of severe weather yesterday across portions of the Mississippi Valley, and we are continuing to see some stronger storms with heavy rain down into the Houston area, moving its way into Louisiana here this morning. And in fact, looking back to yesterday's storm reports, we did have a lot of hail producers out here from portions of Illinois, getting down through portions of Missouri, northwestern Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma, and in North Texas. We actually did have one tornado report as well across the eastern Texas region, and actually a total of 128 severe weather reports going back to your Thursday. But if you guys are with me here on the video, don't forget to press the subscribe button down below if you like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, including southern Canada, the United States, or the tropics. This is the place to be, so hit the subscribe button down below. It's free to do. And also, I would love if you guys would hit that like button as well. It definitely helps to get all of this weather information out to as many people as possible by pressing the like button down below as well. But going through today, we got a new low pressure system developing down here into the southern plains with a cold front here extending northward into the Ohio Valley, and this will be the focal point in which we'll see storms today, and then that cold front will push eastward with that warm sector as well across the east coast and the southeast going into your Saturday. So first, looking at the severe weather chances today, pretty low here. We have a level 1 of 5 in the dark green areas. This is up across portions of the eastern Ohio Valley, getting into the northeast, western portions of New York, western portions of Pennsylvania, getting down here into portions there of Ohio, northeastern Kentucky, and parts of West Virginia. And then a more significant area of convection will be down here into southeastern Texas, getting into Louisiana and Mississippi as well. And some of this could extend into far western Alabama going through the Friday timeframe today. And we have a small chance of a tornado across eastern parts of Louisiana into central and western Mississippi. This does encompass the Jackson, Mississippi area, Natchez, and then getting back into the Monroe, Louisiana area later on today. But looking first across the northernmost marginal risk area, we do have the storms back to the west across northwest Ohio, down into portions of the Ohio River Valley through the noon time frame. So through the morning in toward noontime, we got the storms farther off to the west. But as we go through the peak daytime heating, mid to late afternoon and getting into the dinner time frame, we'll start to see more supercell thunderstorms developing right along that slow moving cold front. And these could be the storms to produce some damaging wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, some large hail of quarter size or larger, and again, maybe a very low chance of a tornado with one or two of these storms. But then this will turn more into a heavy rainfall threat going through the evening hours and into after the midnight time frame, waking up on your Saturday morning. And again, much of this will be heavy rain, so we're going to kind of minimize that severe weather threat overnight after midnight, and this will again transition more to a heavy rainfall threat across Ohio, getting into West Virginia and parts of the Western Carolinas. This is going into 6 a.m. on your Saturday. Now, the southernmost marginal risk area, we have a couple of rounds of storms. So the first round of storms down here across New Orleans, getting up through Mississippi and western Tennessee, that will be through this morning into the noon time frame. Then whatever happens in between there, how much instability we have built, if we have any cloud breaks, that will be building some more energy into the atmosphere. And how much builds up will determine the severity of the storms going in toward the late afternoon. We could have a second round of storms pushing farther to the south and east by the 6 o'clock time frame. These would be the most severe storms, producing the damaging wind gusts, large hail, and perhaps a couple of isolated tornadoes, especially into west central Mississippi and eastern portions of Louisiana. And then some of this could be farther west, back building into the Houston metro area as we go into this evening. Then we'll start to slowly shut off off the severe weather threat from north to south as we go into the late evening and the overnight time frame toward the midnight hour on your Saturday morning. Maybe some lingering storms down here near the New Orleans region, Hattiesburg, and then on up into the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa regions by then as well. Then all the stuff starts to shift off farther to the east. The cold front moves off across portions of the East Coast. We have a slight risk of severe weather across eastern Virginia, getting up into Maryland there, the eastern Carolinas, and down into coastal Georgia. This does include portions there of the Raleigh area, getting down into Myrtle Beach, Charleston, and also Savannah, Georgia, with a marginal risk extending down into Orlando, Jacksonville, and even the Tallahassee region as well. Looking at this, there is a small chance of a tornado or two. Again, most of this is going to be up into eastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina and even parts of Maryland up here if we did have any rotating storms. And it's all due to the kinematics. We have that very large kink in the jet stream across portions of the mid-Atlantic and southeast on your Saturday tomorrow, and that's going to help enhance with some of this moisture as well. Dew points will be back up into the 50s and 60s here across the mid-Atlantic and the East Coast, and it'll at least contribute to some modest to moderate values of instability going into your Saturday afternoon time frame. So looking here, Saturday morning, the morning rush, 7 a.m., we got some storms out here across the mid-Atlantic getting into the western Carolinas. That will push across portions of the Carolinas into Virginia by peak daytime heating, mid to late afternoon. Again, these storms will be capable of producing damaging wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, large hail of quarter size or larger, and a couple of isolated tornadoes, especially with northward extent there into Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. Then we'll see that squall line push off the coast by the dinner time frame and Saturday evening, and then by the time we get into overnight on Saturday, waking up on your Sunday morning, these storms will be off the coast, and we're just dealing with heavy rain up across the mid-Atlantic and the northeast up there toward New York City, Long Island, and the Albany, New York area by your 1 o'clock in the morning time frame on Sunday. Looking here at the total rainfall accumulations now through Sunday afternoon and evening, it does look like some decent rains are to be expected across the mid-Atlantic, back across the Ohio Valley and the Gulf Coast states. The heaviest of the rain across the middle and lower Mississippi Valley, especially into Louisiana, eastern Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, western Tennessee, getting up into western Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, and southeastern Missouri. Those areas could see widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain, but still up to around an inch or so, inch and a half of rain across portions of Pennsylvania, getting across the mid-Atlantic there and western New York State through this weekend. But then behind the system, it's all about that cold blast. So we have widespread freeze warnings and freeze watches here already across portions of the middle of the country around the agriculture belt, and that's going to be with the cold air behind this cold front. So through today, we're already seeing the cooler temperatures start to shuttle its way farther south out of Canada into the northern United States with temperatures 10, 15 degrees below normal for this time of year. But as we go into tomorrow on your Saturday, that pushes even farther south, getting into the southern plains, the Missouri Valley, and the Ohio Valley. And then by the time we get into late this weekend on Sunday, April 23rd, that will be pushing all the way to the Gulf Coast here and the East Coast as well, with much of the country east of the Rockies well below normal. Some of these areas could be 30 degrees below normal here going into your Sunday time frame. So looking at the temperatures going into tonight, widespread frost and freeze conditions, especially when you see temperatures like this into the 20s here and even low 30s all the way south with that freezing line into northern Missouri, Kansas City there, getting in toward the Wichita region and then back into northern New Mexico. That's where that freezing line will be through tonight. Only warming up into the 40s and 50s up here across the north central United States through your Saturday. The warmer air momentarily will be across the Gulf Coast and the East Coast, but as we go into Saturday night, again, another widespread frost and freeze, even colder temperatures into the eastern Dakotas, northern Minnesota with a deeper snowpack. We'll be down into the low and middle teens for low temperatures waking up on your Sunday morning, and that freezing line again will dive down into the Ohio Valley and upper Missouri Valley through the Saturday night time frame. And again, look at these high temperatures on Sunday now. We're only into the upper 50s down here into North Texas across the Dallas-Fort Worth area, maybe only upper 40s there. with some unsettled weather on Sunday across Amarillo to the Lubbock area, and then only again middle 50s toward the Oklahoma City metro area as well. So definitely some cooler air spreading farther to the south, and it does have staying power. So going right through the end of the month in the first few days of May through Thursday, May 4th, it does look to become predominantly cooler across the eastern two-thirds of the country, mainly along and east of the Rockies. We will have a ridge build across the eastern Pacific, so is no surprise we have some warmer than average temperatures up across the Pacific Northwest, with that ridge building all the way up to the Aleutian Islands and Western Canada. But it also looks dry with that cool spell across the north, so we're not talking about any major snowstorms or anything like that. But it does look like underneath that we're going to have some weakness in the jet stream, so we're going to have also some active weather across the East Coast, the Gulf Coast, and then back into California as well. And you can see that here reflected on the jet stream. This is your upper level jet on Tuesday, and you can see that subtropical feature will be across the southern United States, bringing in a lot of Pacific moisture here on Tuesday, and that really continues through the better half of next week, going through that Thursday, April 27th time frame. We really don't truly see a southwesterly flow too much. We have a lot of northwesterly flow here and off the Pacific from the west, so definitely seeing that into next week. So starting on Monday afternoon, getting into early next week, we do have a low pressure system trying to develop across the Four Corners region. This will likely be bringing some light to moderate snow showers across the central Rockies. That will continue more or less into Monday night. We do have some rain showers, some unsettled weather, likely no severe weather expected though across Kansas here, but definitely seeing some beneficial rains there into Kansas on Monday night. And looking at the snowfall totals as we get into the central Rockies, it's really not going to be too bad. We are going to see a few inches of snow, especially around Salt Lake City, down here toward Denver, getting back here into northeastern Nevada, getting into central Idaho, maybe a few inches, 4 or 5 inches of snow into the higher elevations through late this weekend and early next week. But it's really to the east of there. Across the Gulf Coast, we're watching for some widespread flooding concerns, with the dew points back into the 60s here on Tuesday, getting into the 60s again on Wednesday, and even on Thursday, and probably beyond as well. We're going to be wringing out this moisture here in the form of some heavy rainfall and flooding rains possibly as well, as we have multiple waves of showers and storms. So on Tuesday, the 25th, we have one wave moving across the central and southern plains. We do have to watch the southernmost extent of these back into southern Oklahoma, Texas, and maybe Louisiana for some stronger thunderstorms, likely some hail producers on Tuesday. Getting into Wednesday, same thing. Again, if we do have strong storms, probably going to be more of the hail producer variety. And as this pushes east into the southeast, the Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, this will become a heavy rainfall threat, possibly watching out for some flash flooding there on Wednesday. And that continues with another wave moving across the Gulf Coast on Thursday as well, and will continue to push that wave farther east on Friday. So definitely a very unsettled, very active week of weather next week, with lots of rain and heavy rain across the southern United States. So we'll definitely have to be watching out for some flash flooding out there. And look at the rainfall amounts. This is just from Tuesday, April 25th through next weekend on Saturday, April 29th. And this is all the rainfall we're going to be adding up on top of what we've already seen. And you can see the heaviest of the rain will be across the Carolinas, back into Georgia, including the Atlanta area, getting back into central portions of Alabama, and then another area of beneficial rain back across Kansas, Oklahoma, and North Texas, where we could be seeing rainfall amounts over 2 or 3 inches here as well going through next week. Well, looking at the long range weather pattern going into the first week or so of May, so from May 4th through the 11th time frame, it does look like a pattern change will be starting to take shape. We have a troughs starting to move into the western United States and a little bit more ridging across the middle and eastern two-thirds of the country, but it also still will remain active. So where we have heavy rain next week, that looks to reside again similarly across those areas through the first week in May, also looks pretty active across the Intermountain West and West Coast during this period. And we do have to watch. So, looking at the first week in May, we don't have a lot of moisture return. We got a lot of cold fronts pushing to the southeast. So, that kind of shuts off the severe weather potential largely. Yeah, we may have some dew points in the 50s across the Great Plains, an isolated severe threat here or there. Those will probably be more of the marginal, maybe slight risk days for severe weather. But I'm really keeping an eye on the trends for the second week in May as we have a return to 60 and 70-degree dew points largely across a good portion of the country here, all the way up into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northern Plains, perhaps getting into that second week in May. So that's around that May 10th, 11th, and 12th time frame here. And that does also look to be producing more CAPE values or convective available potential energy. So the energy will start to go up here farther north as well. So the severe weather threat may shift farther north into the second week in May than we have seen it this year. And it's all due to these stronger troughs. We're going to have some stronger troughs moving in across the desert southwest here, and we have the ridging across the eastern United States, and we've seen this pattern before. We saw it back in late March, early April, and it looks to possibly repeat itself into the second week in May. So this does look like a time frame we definitely have to keep an eye on. So my severe weather forecast from May 1st through the 7th, it is possible we have some severe weather down here, but it's mainly going to be muted to the Gulf Coast here and portions of Dixie Alley. I'm not thinking we don't have any big severe weather events or anything like that. Probably just more of the marginal to slight risk severe weather days, if any, as we go through the first week in May. And then as we go into the second week in May toward the middle of the month, this is May 8th through the 14th, I think it's much more likely, if not very likely, we start to see more severe weather and possibly more widespread severe weather outbreaks, maybe even a tornado outbreak going farther north into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and again, much of the middle and lower Mississippi Valley as well. So this will be a period I'll be keeping an eye on here, trending over the next couple of weeks, and we'll keep you covered on it as well. Well, if you want to follow me on Twitter for additional weather forecast updates, the Twitter handle is down below in the description. It is at HWeather420, so definitely follow me on Twitter. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Remember to like the video down below, give it a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Friday, everybody, a great weekend, and I will see you all in the next video.